Last time we shared our condo in Japan, and you had a lot of questions. What was the process like? Will it be an Airbnb? Can you stay in Japan longer? Why did you decide to buy? We'll get to all of those and more in this video. We are the learners and makers. Our world schooling family has traveled the world since 2022, empowering families and people with mobility disabilities to travel more their way. There are so many questions, and we're excited to answer them. But the first thing is we are obviously not in our apartment or in Japan anymore. We had to leave.
Instead, we are in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia right now. We've been so excited to look over your questions and comments. Thank you for the love and support and for all the great questions. We're going to get stuck into them.
I think the first question we got that feels like it addresses a large thing was, why did we pick Japan?
Why did we pick Japan is such a good question. For us in particular, we have visited Japan multiple times. First time in 2013 when Connor was a toddler. Astor's first visit was 2023. And every time we have gone to Japan, there has been so much sense of just joy, peace, and a deep appreciation for the culture, the land, the people, mostly the language. All the different counting systems drive me a little batty sometimes, but what's life without its quirks? So I would say why Japan for us came back to our deep appreciation just of Japan itself. It's very good for the kids being there in this culture that they identify a lot with, but is also very different from what they grew up with.
Well, technically they are growing up with it too.
Oh, they're growing up some with it now, that's true.
That's the appreciation for Japan, the fact that we love spending time there, that is true. The other element of it is that it is really reasonably priced.
Yes.
I mean, if it was very, very expensive for us, then we probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
The reasonable price does play into why we chose Japan quite a bit.
It does, yes. It is really nice that we can dine out more easily. Groceries are very affordable. There are a lot of activities, public transportation that we can have experience with as a family for the kids and still keep to a decent family budget.
Yes, but we can do that almost anywhere. The reasonable price is that the condo was reasonably priced. I mean, that's huge. And even all of the stuff around having the condo, our fees, which we're going to get into, all of that is fairly reasonable as well. Okay, let's move on. Another question is about how Americans or foreigners can buy in Japan. And do you need to speak Japanese? We are learning Japanese.
Do we need to speak Japanese? Yeah.
Nope. You don't have to, but I will say, if you speak, especially if you're buying, the more Japanese we learn, the richer our experience is. We understand things about the culture that we wouldn't understand without learning some of the language, and we understand we get to interact with people who only speak Japanese.
The short of it is that any Japanese you know deepens your experience. It helps you engage more with people. You gain a little respect and street cred, especially once you get beyond some basics like thank you, arigato, or hello, konnichiwa, excuse me, sumimasen. Great basics. Anything you get above and beyond, it's a huge help. We also worked with a consultant who knows Japanese real estate very well, could help connect us with people for services, for a real estate agent. Again, also folks who had English proficiency and they were comfortable working with people who were not Japanese. There can be lots of folks who might be really good at what they do, but they're not necessarily going to work with foreigners. That's just one of the realities of Japan, and that's okay. But since we were able to connect with the resources that made it easier, we don't have to be fluent. There's still a little bit we could understand, but it was so much smoother knowing we had some people in our corner that we could communicate with them. They could communicate with folks in Japanese beyond our skills, and we could keep things moving.
I think you would need to be basically completely fluent to not want like a consultant of some kind or somebody who's translating, because like buying a house in the US, I mean, these are like legal documents. So you not only need to understand the language, but you need to understand that language's like legalese a little bit. I feel pretty confident about English's legalese or American legalese. I don't even know if like we went to another English speaking country, if I would feel super comfortable with their legalese, but I understand how to read a contract in the US. I don't think we'll ever get to an amount of Japanese where we feel really comfortable.
No, probably not.
With like
not
contract
level.
Yeah. So while it's a very generally honest culture and you're not going to get a lot of people who are kind of like trying to swindle you or sneak things in, it's still good to be aware and protect yourself.
Yeah.
So figure out somehow that you're going to have somebody on your side that can speak both Japanese and English.
What does it take for non-Japanese people to buy property in Japan? Japan actually really stands out with how universal their buying process is. Pretty much anybody can purchase real estate in Japan, land, buildings, whatever. It's actually different from a lot of places in Asia, like being in Malaysia right now. Malaysia and Japan are some of the few Asian countries that we're aware of where you can not only buy, say, a unit, like a condo or a house, but you can also actually buy the land. Many places, like in Thailand, you might be able to buy a physical structure, but not the underlying land that many countries reserve for just people of their nationality.
Mm-hmm.
So other than whatever assistance you need, especially on the language side, on services, legally speaking, you got the money, you can go in and buy it.
One of the biggest questions was like, what was the process like? And I feel like the process did not feel that different than buying our house in Oregon when we bought it.
No. Real estate, I'm pretty sure around the world, is a combination of huge ups, huge downs, whole lot of frantic rushing, and then a whole lot of hurry up and wait.
Yes. So for us, I think the things that made it unique was that we did pay somebody to consult for us.
Mm-hmm.
They helped us find a realtor that would work with foreigners. And also we had to go and notarize to confirm our identity. We had to get, what was it called?
It's an affidavit of identity.
Which it's instead of the inkan, which is how Japanese sign, which is a little stamp. We don't have that because we're not Japanese. And so we had to get the affidavit in order to stand in for that. And then we signed like normal.
In our case, we went to the U.S. consulate in Osaka, had a little process with them, we brought in the paperwork that was needed, they did their notarization process, and we were all set.
If you were like coming from the U.S., we weren't coming from the U.S., so we didn't know about this process of it. You could do that before, like if you come, just get it done in the U.S. so you don't have to go to the consulate. Or a lot of them do take online notary, but ours wanted to play it safe and make sure.
Yeah, that's going to vary some
depending
on
on
who you're working with.
Who you're working on with your realtor, what they feel comfortable with, and what were they called? The
Scrivener.
The Scrivener, what they're comfortable with. And so our Scrivener in particular just was not sure about the online notary.
Yeah. And that's just going to vary. But again, it's their rules, their process, so you work with however they want to run things.
After we did all of that, we put in our offer. There's not a lot of haggling, so that was a little different. And actually, that made the process less stressful. when we just sold our house last summer, it just felt stressful, the back and forth. Yeah. Are they going to pull out? Do we have to put it back on the market? What is that going to do to the price? Blah, blah, blah. There's like none of that. And once you put your offer in and your deposit money, it's pretty much a sealed deal. Like there's actually penalties for pulling out
without a really good reason.
There are some reasons where it's kind of, there's an exception, but if you were just like, we don't feel like it anymore, you will be penalized. And then you have to wait, basically, I guess, for them to just get all the paperwork together.
I think that's a lot of it. Yeah.
We had to wait for almost a month. Yeah. Like 3 weeks.
It's usually like 3 to 4 weeks, I think, was the most common. Now, we'd been searching online for a while. We had connected with our consultant, so we had some things kind of set going into Japan. And then we spent some time looking at the listings in some of the areas we wanted to be in, a budget range we knew would work for us. A lot also depends on what you want to budget for purchase and how much work the property is going to need. So renovation, any remodeling will add time, difficulty, cost, also in part because you are working with professionals in another country, another language, and not everything is DIY, which you might be accustomed to that option like in the US or something. There's some things like electrical. Our understanding is no, you have to hire that out legally. So there are things you check on with that, and kind of that when you buy to when you can occupy might vary. One thing that we felt so fortunate about with the place we found is that it had a lot of recent remodeling. So all we had to do was basically work with a professional our consultant hooked us up with to get an estimate on installing the little mini split ductless heating air conditioning units. We wanted 3 of them. That was the most we had to do other than, getting furniture.
Yeah. That definitely factored into our decision, and you can actually see kind of weighing those choices in our video with our walkthrough tours of the apartments that we viewed. We didn't really talk about like how we ramped up to the viewing process. The first serious thing that we did, we were like, yes, we think we want to do this, is we subscribed to
Akiamart.
No. Before that, we subscribed to Cheap Houses Japan newsletter, and then he sends out kind of a curated list, and that got us started looking. And then when you start looking, you start seeing like, there's always a few of these websites like Sumo and
At Home,
yeah. So there's always a few, and you can kind of start like searching on your own and knowing how to translate it and all of that. So I was doing like every week we'd get one, I'd browse the new ones, and then I'd start down the rabbit hole of like looking at all the properties, because we did start out with like, where do we want? We didn't know where in Japan we wanted to be.
Well, and where to look is a little different too. Coming from the US, we're accustomed to what we call our MLS. It's this huge, basically national database of properties. Just about any real estate can wind up in there. Whereas a lot of countries don't necessarily have that, or if they do, it might be more disparate or regional. So Japan doesn't really have something along those lines. So there's not really like a Zillow or Redfin version. There are more people trying to put that together here. It's just trickier. The thing I mentioned, so I forgot about Cheap Houses Japan and how awesome that newsletter is. The Akiamart service is one that we subscribed to for a few months.
Right, you're jumping the process.
Oh, well, I like to jump sometimes.
You were jumping the process.
Boing, boing, buddy.
Okay, so first we did the cheap houses in Japan.
Yes.
And then while looking at all of that, we started to narrow down where we wanted to be. And through all of these searches, we decided that we wanted to be in the Osaka area. Yeah. We then also were listening, especially you. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of the searching, I think, and you were listening to Ziv's podcast.
Yes. The Japan Real Estate Podcast was a hugely useful resource. The guy who runs it, Ziv, he has worked in Japanese real estate for a long time.
Yes,
and
super knowledgeable.
shares his observations. He has regular panel discussions with other property pros throughout Japan, so you get some great perspectives. He will even sometimes play kind of introductory calls he has with people who he talks with, getting their permission. So you get such great perspective on the realities. And when you are coming from, say, an Australian, American, Canadian, European perspective, realizing there are quite a few differences will really help you set yourself up for success more and prevent frustrations and misunderstandings.
Although we had some of those too.
Yeah, it's still going to happen, but you can
because
minimize.
Culturally there's just differences. So again, that's why it was so good to have a consultant, because it could kind of help us know what to expect. Then after that, he also has a summit.
Oh, the Japan Real Estate Summit.
And we online attended one of those. And so we really felt like, okay, we've done a lot of research before. We kind of know what we're getting into. We're going to Japan in July, and we want to get there and immediately start looking at apartments and homes. We weren't sure yet if it was going to be a home or apartment.
Yeah.
We were leaning towards apartments for like one level. All the homes are usually 2 stories. So we did that. We were ready to go. And then finally, I think after the real estate summit, we were like, this searching is going to be so much easier if we subscribe to Oculmart. We did some on their free, but you just don't have access to as many. So we were like, if we're serious about it, let's just do it for the months that we need it.
And they've continually improving the site, even from when we were subscribing. The filtering on it, how you can save properties, what you can look for. They've really been doing a good job of pulling together resources and options so you can get in there and really dial in what would be ideal. Now, one other thing you haven't heard us mention yet is a mortgage or any sort of loan. So one question we got was, did you get a mortgage? When we sold our house in 2024, we were able to tuck some of that aside, specifically because we knew we wanted some other sort of base for our family. In Japan, if you're a foreigner, you're pretty much not going to be getting a mortgage. There are some services out there that are starting to cater more to foreigners, but basically you're best off at this point if you're coming in as a cash buyer. We were coming in as cash buyers, didn't have to worry about approvals, pre-approvals, any of that. It was just, we had cash buy, we had our budget, and that made it much more straightforward because then the seller also knew, like, oh, it's a cash sale. So that's just way more straightforward on everybody.
If you didn't have the cash to purchase outright, there are ways to do it. You just wouldn't get a mortgage in Japan. You'd get a loan of some kind in your home country and then pay for it essentially in cash when you're there.
Another great question we got, most natural of all, how much did this cost? And how much will it cost us on a regular basis?
Well, so in our other video we showed we paid $33,000 for the apartment. Again, Japan was a choice because that's a very reasonable price for an apartment. And that made it an easy yes. It's less than what we paid for our RV in the US. We very much viewed it as kind of a similar purchase for us where we aren't investing in it. Maybe someday we will get something back, maybe we won't.
But more like an RV or a car, we're not buying this thinking about resale or investment. We're buying this for what it does for our quality of life.
Yeah, because we want it.
Yeah, that's the value. It's an investment in our quality of life as a family, our happiness.
So, but there are some other costs.
Yes. Now, since this property, it has what's called a leasehold, well, we don't actually have a slice of the land underneath the condo, basically. We just have the unit, and essentially our building is set up that way, so every unit owner pays essentially a monthly lease. So our lease, the building management, like expenses, for covering maintenance, repairs, that sort of thing, and our property management company who helps pay our bills on our behalf, since we can't have a Japanese bank account, that basically is about $250 a month.
Yeah, again, it's pretty reasonable. It might change if the yen changes down the road.
Yeah.
So
The costs themselves are basically fixed, depends far more on exchange rate.
Yeah. And then we aren't totally sure what our utilities are going to be, but our approximate is around 150?
Essentially,
100 to 150.
Yeah, 100 to 150.
A month. And
We'll know more, we'll know more as we're there more regularly. We've only been there a few weeks at this point.
I think that covers most of the cost, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Do we have an HOA? Kinda. There's the Building Management Owners Association has a lot of similar functions. So specifying work that needs to be done, laying out things like that.
I think it has exactly the same functions.
Mm-hmm.
We have things we are allowed and not allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all based on the management that we have agreed to by being there. We cannot put like wild things out in front of our door or like take up space in the hallway or, attach things to the building. There's a whole lot of stuff that is and isn't allowed. And we certainly have to put our trash out the right way. We already got a little finger wag for not quite getting it just right. And told by multiple people multiple times that we needed to make sure and do it right. So, I don't know, I think it kind of functions the same way, but it does not cost the same as an HOA in the U.S. generally. Yeah. I mean, they vary wildly in the U.S., but it's pretty minimal cost.
Yeah.
With a lot of function, actually.
Mm-hmm. A lot of function.
So, all right, this is a big one. Can it be rented as an Airbnb?
And we know what you're really asking.
Can we
by the way, stay? We see you. See your mind. No. The rules specifically prohibited it. So even if we had an interest in listing it as a rental, we're not allowed to do it. Japan also has a lot of rules around short-term rentals. So we consider that, would we want this to be part of our experience? For this, no. It's the first place we've bought in another country. And we just wanted it to be ours anyway. We didn't want to have to worry about someone using my Japanese kitchen knife.
Yeah, we showed that.
Yeah.
With his name on it.
Yeah, somebody messing up my carbon steel pan. You can tell what I'm worried about.
No, we cannot. We're not allowed. It's stipulated in our agreement of what we can and cannot do.
The amorphous quasi-joking would be, well, if we wanted to get into rentals, then we would just buy a condo building.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this one is just for us, and it's been really nice to get to choose after many years of kitchen knives and that are bad and pans that are dented and maybe non-stick weirdness and whatever, all of that. It's nice that we can choose what we want and what we like to have, especially obviously in the kitchen. We are a little opinionated about that. Do we get to stay in Japan longer now that we have this property there?
I want to kind of back into this answer because, say in the US or Canada or many other countries, people from abroad can buy property in those countries, including our country, the US. That doesn't give any special perks. And it's the same thing with Japan. We can buy property, and what we get is property. We don't get a longer stay. We don't get a special visa. There's no door that opens to a path to residency or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, oh, you've bought real estate and now you have this program that's available to you and not somebody else.
No, we did not unwrap a golden ticket.
No, so we are still planning on just using our space with a tourist visa, which is 3 months of time. And we found that that's a really good amount of time for us to be in Japan anyway. And we get to stay in one place for 3 months, which I don't think we've done ever in the last 3 years.
It's been a while, yeah.
Like in one,
one place, yeah.
One apartment.
One apartment, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 3 months in one apartment is going to feel quite long. after, 3 years of basically 1 month stays.
Yeah.
And less.
At the same time, some perks of having our place there is that, one, if we want to go visit another part of Japan, it's much easier to do just kind of like as a couple nights, go out during the week for a couple nights or something like that. Don't have as much we need to pack. We can pack really light. We can just stay in a hotel or something else a little more easily, so we can have broader parameters for accommodation. We can leave things there. Like, there are these awesome boutiques that Jody and Astor made a few months ago, video time, when we were in Penang, Malaysia. And a friend up there just mailed the finished ones to them. So now we can take those to our place in Japan and hang them on the wall. And Astor's so excited to hang up her boutique in her room.
We finished our 3 months there. It took us about 2 months to look at, get our notary, all of the process. And then we had 1 month of setting up our apartment. And our plan is to be back in the spring for cherry blossom season. So if you happen to be in the Osaka area and want to come hang out, let us know.
Cheesecake is on us.
I don't know if I want to promise that much.
Well, it's a good thing you know the editor.
I think that's all the questions.
If there are more questions, anything else we didn't address you want to know more about, please leave it in the comments. We can come back to it in a future video, or we'll be posting more Q&A as well on our blog at learnersandmakers.com.
If you haven't seen our apartment, all awesome with the furniture, how we set it up over the course of that month, you can check out that video, as well as the apartments that we viewed and how we made our decision in another video.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time. Okay.
Bye.